Hello, and welcome to the Ganru Show. I'm Golda.
And I'm Wanru.
And this is a podcast that's just like hanging out with your two best girlfriends.
In today's episode, we're going to share tools to learn more about yourself and others.
It's like going to a party and meeting such cool and exciting people.
Or going to a party and leaving early like you really want to.
Or it's like going to a party, finding out that they have a cat, and then locking yourself in the master bedroom with the cat and being able to play with the cat.
Oh, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
Is that a euphemism for something else? Playing with the cat?
No, you're really playing with the cat.
Oh, okay. Whatever your idea of a good time is.
Yeah.
So let's get started. So right off the bat, we like to start with a new segment we call
Girl, what you been up to?
It's a way for our listeners to catch up with us and learn a little bit more about our personal lives. In case anybody is actually interested.
Regardless, we're going to tell you.
Here we go. We're launching into it.
So, Wanru, I know that you have just come back from a wonderful trip abroad. Do you want to tell us, girl, what you've been up to?
Girl, I went to Japan for 2 weeks.
Girl, I wish I could go.
I invited her.
Yes, you did.
But, I think it was too last minute. And it was kind of a last minute thing for myself as well.
Yeah. Tell us where did you go? What cities did you visit in
So I
Japan?
went on a series of, the path is called the Golden Route or the Golden Route. Basically, it's Tokyo, Kyoto, Hiroshima. So it goes
Ooh.
from the center to the center south of Japan.
Okay.
And I spent 13 days there. I felt like I saw everything. I fully immersed in myself in the culture. And it was beautiful. Travel was smooth. Weather was on my side. And there's so many aspects of the Japanese culture which are charming, thoughtful, considerate. Everything you've heard about them is true. They're well organized. They're efficient. And it made for a wonderful travel experience.
And how was you don't speak Japanese, right?
No, I don't.
How
at
was
all.
it communicating with folks over there?
Actually, because of the number of tourists that are now flooding to Japan, actually, a lot of them speak English. And because their society is built for convenience, like the menus all have pictures. The convenience stores display clearly all the things that they're selling. You just literally have to point and indicate big or small, hot or cold. They say hatu. So you say hatu or cold.
I say cold.
I don't know. I say cold. I just said cold.
Koldu?
Koldu.
Okay.
That's probably correct.
Probably not.
Because I would say hot and they would be like hatu. And I said, yes, hatu. And then so I started to say hatu.
Oh,
But
okay.
just things like that. You improvise and that's actually easier to communicate because they're so service oriented.
Oh, wonderful. What was your favorite city to visit?
Surprisingly, I didn't know anything about it, but actually I thought Hiroshima was very interesting. That is, of course, where the nuclear bomb was
Detonated.
Thank you.
It was
It
dropped there.
It was dropped there, and they've rebuilt the city, and they've dedicated it to peace. So it was actually a beautiful rebuilt city with a lot of history and very touching as well. So very sobering, but a good experience.
What do you mean
yeah.
sobering? Like what?
Obviously, because of the death and the war,
Yeah.
everything that happened, there is a somber tone to everything.
You can feel it in the environment, in
Yeah,
the atmosphere.
you absolutely can. There is there's definitely a whole feeling over the city where the history kind of weighs on it. But again, they've transformed that, all the death and the violence from World War II into this message of peace. So they've actually transformed the energy of death and, this horrible violent act into something very beautiful. So I would say that's the thing. When you're traveling, we've talked about this before in our travel episode, there's something to be taken away from every culture.
Yeah.
You can see positive aspects that you would like to apply to yourself and negative aspects that you can say, that's not for me, but it's good to view that. You know what I mean?
What were some of the positive aspects that you took away?
So people always say, why aren't we as efficient as the Japanese?
Mm.
And my answer for that is because you can't have nice things. You can't have nice things. Have
What
you
is
ever
that?
heard, have you ever heard of that?
Yes. What does that mean though?
You know
what do you mean that the Japanese have nice things?
It means that as a society, they are
Mhm.
so respectful of not just each other, but of their space.
Oh.
Like they don't eat or drink on the subway. They don't make a mess. They don't
okay.
have many trash cans, but they're all
I
the
heard
streets.
that there's like no public no trash cans at all,
Hard
and you
to
have
find.
to keep it on your person.
Yeah.
And then wait until you get home and throw things away, right?
Exactly.
So why is that? Is there
It's
some
because it's a
thinking
habit.
behind?
They are very community centered. We're in the West. We're more individual centered.
Yeah.
And it's like I want to throw this
Selfish
away
bastards.
now, so I'm gonna chuck it. But
Yeah.
they're more community centered. So they want to be respectful of other people and their space. So the subways are packed,
Interesting.
but it's not dirty. It's not noisy because they don't talk.
Mm.
So the reason why they can have such an efficient and well-run, like public transportation system, is because they don't abuse it. They treat it so well so that everyone can have a comfortable place to ride and a comfortable environment to experience. And even though they're packed in, they're very respectful of each other's space and being courteous. So
I love
here,
that.
if we try to bring the Shinkansen or the bullet train here,
Mm.
people would be like, trashing it or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
we'd have to retrain the people
Mm.
to run on the Japanese system. So there's something good to learn from every culture. And for them, they respect each other so much so they can have nice things.
Well,
We can't have nice things.
Well, I feel like from what it sounds like, it feels like the Japanese people are very responsible for each other. It's
Yes.
not just for themselves, but it's an attitude. It's a spirit of looking after one another.
Exactly. Because they're, again, community centric versus the individual centric. But
Interesting.
the negative side I've
Okay.
heard of people who have actually lived there is they actually repress any individuality and creativity. That's a bad thing. See,
interesting.
if you view that to be bad, maybe
Okay.
you view that to be like, no, that's good. We need to have a uniform society. But I think coming from the Western philosophy of being an individual, I think it can be challenging.
Interesting.
But thank you to the amazing Japanese people and the Japanese culture for giving me an amazing experience. The culture there runs so deep. The people's respect and hospitality is so deep, runs so deep. And I had a wonderful time.
Wonderful. I actually have a coworker of mine that just got back from Japan.
Yeah.
And she mentioned that she loved it as well. And one of the things that she loved about it was she said people were so respectful, and to the point of she's, a late 20 something year old person, and pretty lady. And when she was in Japan, she mentioned that nobody ogled her.
I did not
Nobody
know it.
catcalled her. Nobody, looked at her, in that sort of subtle or not so subtle, disrespectful way.
Yeah.
She felt the most respected. She felt very respected as a
Yeah.
woman,
Yeah.
and she felt safe. She said she
It's
felt safe.
extremely
Is that
safe.
right?
It's the country with the second lowest crime rate in the world, second only to Iceland. But that's not a good comparison.
It's because nobody wants to go outside in
There's-
Iceland.
In Iceland, there's nobody.
Nothing's going on.
It's all glaciers and stuff. So I mean, no one's gonna commit crime on a glacier.
Yeah.
But- right. So
We don't know about all those home crimes that might be going on.
And absolutely, I felt so safe, so respected, to the point where people don't even make eye contact. So you're like,
Oh.
oh, okay, all right. Well, maybe I shouldn't stare at them either.
I
But
see.
Anyways, every culture that you immerse yourself in, it's important to approach with respect.
Yes.
So
agreed.
if they don't stare at you, don't stare at them.
Mm-hmm.
You can try to be a little chatty if that's your style, but if they're not chatty back, don't impose yourself on them. Yeah. And the only people or creatures that I found to be disrespectful were the deer. I went to see
Are they just roaming around, deer?
There's a temple with a
Oh,
bunch
okay.
of deer, and I went to feed them,
Mm.
and I was like, "Oh, deer! They're like just the most gentle
Bambi.
They're Bambis,
Right.
And I bought these crackers to feed them, and they literally started biting me all over my body, including my ass and my
What?
abdomen,
Huh?
because they
'Cause
learned
that's where people carry the crackers.
maybe
Is in their ass and abdomen.
I think they learned that if they bite
Okay.
you in a sensitive spot, you will drop the whole
Wow.
bag of crackers.
Wow.
So these deer attacked me. That was
Okay.
the most horrible. No, it wasn't horrible, but that was the
Okay.
most invasive thing that happened to me in Japan.
Okay.
Nothing to do with the Japanese people.
Gotcha. And I did see some photos. I think that, you know, some of the other activities that you did in Japan was a real fun, I want to say Mario Kart.
I did.
Tell us about that. What was that all
So
about?
you get to dress up as a Mario Kart character, the video game.
From Mario Brothers,
Yes.
right? Luigi, right? And Mario.
yeah.
And then a bunch of other characters.
Exactly. You can pick the costume, and in a real go-kart, you drive through the streets of Japan.
Wow.
And it was awesome. It was really a lot of fun, and you're there mixed with traffic. But again,
Oh.
because
it's not like a separate track?
No.
You're actually in Japanese traffic?
Yeah, you're like driving through the city.
Wearing a Mario outfit.
Yes, in a
Or
car, in
Princess.
a open
Peaches.
air go-kart. Yeah, Princess
Oh.
Peach. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Huh.
again, it could only happen in Japan because
love
people are
that.
so respectful of traffic laws. And we followed the leader, and the leader
Okay.
said cluster. We cluster, and the leader said drive in a single file, drive in a single file. So we followed the rules, and because we complied, we could do fun things like drive in a completely unsafe vehicle at 40 miles per hour.
And you're not wearing a helmet, I'm imagining.
Oh no, there's no seatbelt.
Okay. There's no seatbelt.
You could fly out of that thing and get crushed in a minute.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I felt completely safe because everyone was so respectful of each other.
Wonderful. How long was the experience? Was it a quick thing or is
2
it?
hours.
Oh boy.
Exactly.
I thought it was only like, a couple of blocks.
Nope.
2 hours.
Through the whole city. We did stop for photo ops. But again,
hilarious.
I know, but she'd be like, okay, go ahead. I'm going to let you loose. You can take pictures. Come back in 15 minutes. And we all came back in 15 minutes.
Wow.
We complied.
Everybody's very obedient. People were very obedient with the Mario Kart. Wonderful.
So that's what I've been up to. I enjoyed the Japanese people and the culture immensely. And what have you been doing these 2 weeks I've been
Me?
gone? Girl, what you been doing?
Me? Gosh. Well, one of the things that I wanted to share with you, Wanru, was that I recently, as recent as yesterday,
How recent was it?
yesterday, I was at a work event that was sort of a retreat. And to top off the work event, we went to a very nice 5-star hotel here in Los Angeles.
Not to be named.
Yes, and they have a very nice spa that is attached to this hotel. Like it's not like a room, and so, like some hotels have like a room and they call it a spa. No, this was an actual separate building with like a waterfall and like a legit spa, right? So we topped it off with having like a 1-hour spa treatment of your choice. And all of the masseuses were taken. So the only folks left were the people who do facials. So what are they, like anestheticians, something like that?
Estheticians?
Estheticians?
I think
That's anesthesia. That would be a whole other... Yeah.
What a mix up that would be.
Yeah, that would be a mix up. That would be
you
a
go
mix
in
up.
for an hour and then you have like a appendix removed. But anyways, go on. So you went to get a facial.
Yeah, I went to go get a facial, and it was considered their sort of basic facial. So in a lot of these spas, they have various types of facials depending on what your facial needs are. So if you have old saggy skin with lots of wrinkles, you get one kind of facial. If you got, super like supple skin and you just want to be pampered, then you do another type of facial. If you've got freckles or hyperpigmentation, you do a separate, and so on. So I did the entry level facial, which is like their most basic of basic facials. And so I went to sit down in their waiting area. And so what they do is they put people in this waiting area, and you're in the little spa robe, right? And the lights are dimmed, and there's like lavender smell everywhere, and there's like Yanni playing in the background, and
There's
Enya.
always some trickling water noise.
Yeah,
Have you noticed?
Yes.
It's the white noise maker, or the music always has like water trickling all over the place.
Yeah. So the woman who was going to do my facial comes out, and she's like, "Golda, is there a Golda here?"
Oh,
And
is
I'm
that how she talked?
Well, I think she was from Eastern Europe, and I'm not very good at accents. I'm gonna try. Okay.
Go ahead.
Golda, is there a Golda here? Something like that.
Something to that effect.
Something to that effect. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. She's like, oh, would you like some mint water with some cloves? I'm like, cloves? Anyway, so I don't know how they do it here. Anyway, so she's like, oh, come over here, come into this room. Are you having a pleasant day? Blah, blah, blah. So I proceed to go into the facial room, which looks like every other facial room. It's got like the little bed thing, right? And, because this was a facial, I thought that I could keep my clothes on.
Oh.
She made me disrobe for a facial. I'm like, do you want me to take my clothes off? My jeans? Because I had the robe over my clothes.
Oh.
But then what I was planning to do was just take off my shirt and keep the robe on.
Right.
Am I a prudish
So she wanted you
spa person?
topless. She wanted you to have...
No, she wanted me to be like naked under the blanket bed thing. But I'm like, I'm just getting a facial. Because like when you have a spa, like when you have like a massage, you have to get disrobed, right? So that they can like really get in there, right?
Right.
So I get that, to be naked, right? When you're going to get a full body massage.
Right.
But this is, the face is the only, and maybe the neck and like, chest, upper chest
Take
area.
off your socks.
Take
Take off your underwear. Full cavity search. Okay, sorry. Maybe that she didn't say that, but that's kind of the vibe, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Remove all clothing garments.
I'm like, can I keep my cat socks on?
Oh boy!
So I had to just robe, which I was a little like, okay, well, whatever. Maybe that's how they do. These rich people do it because it's kind of a richy rich kind of like spa hotel.
Right.
Anyway, so I disrobe. She knocks. Can I come in? And I'm like, yeah, come on in. So she comes in and then she turns on these little like face steamers. And in the past, I haven't had a facial. I don't go like all the time. I would say like the last one I had was like 5-6 years ago or something. It was really hot. It was like a hot steam coming on both sides of my face. So that was weird. So I'm like, oh, maybe that's like the way it's supposed to be. And then I had my eyes closed and she put like these hot steamed lavender infused towels over my head, over my face. She started just kind of like scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. And then she proceeded to put maybe 5 or 6 different types of liquids or some sort of mask on me. And then she would keep wiping it off after each mask. And then she finally said, oh, we are going to, have you ever had a peel before? And I'm like, no, I only get peels when I go to like Target or Ralph's and I buy the St. Ives. That's like $3.50.
Right. DIY. Yeah, peel.
DIY. So she's like, okay, so I'm going to put I'm like, a glycolic? She's like, yes, that is the one, the glycolic peel.
By the way, it's bad that she didn't know the name of the peel.
How she should tell me that.
Something.
Glycocan? That's different. So she puts this. She goes, it might sting a little bit. Do not be alarmed. If it's,
wow, she's turning French. She's becoming French. I love it. Okay, keep going.
So anyway, she's like, oh, don't. Oh, no, she's Filipino. Okay, so
yeah, just do it in every accent.
Just do it in every accent. She's a very international woman.
Yeah.
So she starts has a little brush, and then she dips it in this little like bowl. And she starts putting it all over my face. And I'm like, oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. And then it starts to tingle like she said it was going to. And then it started to tingle like a lot. It started feeling like little needles were like kind of sticking my face.
Would you say it felt like burning, not tingling?
It was a little bit of a burn. Yes, it was a little bit of a burn. And then I started coughing.
Oh, no.
And it was one of those, it tickled my throat. Like I was like... And then it started like really getting up my nose. Like I could feel like the fumes or something.
It was your skin being burned off.
Yeah. And then I started coughing a lot. And she's like, oh, are you all right? Would you like some water? And I'm like, I don't think the water is going to help my face right now.
My face is being burned off. So unless you splash my face with a bucket of water, I really don't see how that's gonna help.
Yeah, and I had my eyes closed, so I wasn't looking at her or anything. And so she goes, I am going to remove, okay? It's okay. And I'm like, oh, she's trying to comfort me. It's like, what's going on with my face right now? So the next thing I know, I feel a bunch of steam towels on my face. I don't know where she acquired these towels. She must have had it like under the table or something. And I think she took almost every towel that she had, and she started like putting it on my face. And she was like really like pushing the towels into my face, like to absorb the acid. Yeah. Right.
And then, Golda's like convulsing. She's going into a seizure.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm just going to press these hot towels on your face. I'll take care of it. And you're like gasping for air and convulsing.
And I was very conflicted because the smell of the towels was so good. It smelled like lavender and like grapefruit.
Right.
But she was like pressing it. And then she goes, okay, are you okay now? Are you okay now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay now. I'm like, I'm convinced that it probably dissolved like an inch of dead skin from my face.
But let me ask you, Golda.
Yes.
It sounded like a near-death experience where you inhaled some toxic fumes.
I did. And you know what she said too? Is I said, what percentage of glycolic acid is this? And she goes, oh, not that much. It was only at 20%. And I don't know a lot, but she goes, oh, the maximum you can do at any spa is 25%. So I did not give you maximum. I only gave you 20%. I told Wanru this, and Wanru, what did you tell me about the percentage of glycolic acid?
I said that stuff they sell in the stores, like the Pixie Glow lotion, which is like glycolic. See, I'm like that lady.
Glycolic? The
glycolic acid toner. It's only like 2 to 6%. So she was using something that was 10 times stronger than what is available over the counter.
She gave me like formaldehyde level, man.
Liquid plumber level.
Yeah, liquid plumber level, concentrate.
Yeah.
So, and then she, like towards the end, I could hear her in the back pump, like what I'm imagining to be some sort of oil serum, because I could hear the and it's like and then she slaps it in her hand. She starts rubbing it together, and it's got that juicy kind of sound to it. And then she starts like massaging my neck. She starts massaging my décolletage or whatever that is, where your chest is.
Yeah.
And then she's massaging my ears.
Oh, your ears even.
Yeah. She's massaging my ears. And then she's really massaging me like what you would expect for like a Swedish massage would be, right? So I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then she starts massaging my scalp. And I'm like, oh, okay. And not just the front part, but like the back and all of the scalp, basically, right?
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then without missing a beat and without wiping her hands, she starts massaging my face.
Going back towards the face.
And I'm like, shouldn't you wash your hands? I mean, I don't know a lot about massages or facials, but she starts massaging my face as if she was massaging my shoulders. Have you ever had a face massage where it's like serious, like digging in there with like all of her hands and her wrists, like just like getting all up in there? Have you ever had that?
I was telling Golda I went to a Korean spa, and she pounded my face the way Japanese pound rice into mochi.
Oh my goodness.
With mallets, but with her fists. And I was like, I don't know if I like a person using the whole of their arms to massage my face. Just the fingertips are enough.
Yeah. She was using like the palms and like the fingertips and like the fat part of your thumb.
Yeah.
I mean, she was using everything in there, and she was massaging my eyelids and like the whole thing. I mean, and I am, I'm a jade roller person.
Yes.
And that's nice and relaxing. It's really dainty.
Yeah.
This is nice. This was not a jade roller massage.
This was like a pizza dough roller.
Yes. So at the end of the day, it was a very traumatic experience. I had a headache for most of the night when I got home, but my skin was so soft.
How's your skin? Amazing.
It's really nice. It's really nice and amazing. So I guess what they say that beauty hurts, is that a saying? It's true if it is. Beauty does hurt, because that was painful. It was a painful massage, a facial.
So you got an
Facials are
Eastern
massage.
communist bloc massage
Yeah.
in the 2 weeks that I've been going to
Yeah.
experience the Japanese culture.
That was not relaxing. But my skin feels great. I mean, she did say she was kind of like extracting, like kind of like try and extract like the oils in between your pores so that you get rid of the whiteheads and the blackheads. And I said, "Oh, do I have a lot of blackheads and whiteheads?" And she's like, she's like squeezing all of the stuff out. She's like, "No, you have actually a very good skin. You do not have the whitehead and you do not have a lot of blackhead. But that is okay because your skin is very dry. That's why you do not have these blackheads and whiteheads." That was a backhanded compliment.
And then liquid plumber straight to the face.
Yeah,
after
and then
that.
she's like, acid. But anyway, what we do for our face. So that's what I've been up to.
So girl,
that's what I've been up to. For our main segment, we're going to talk about different tools to help you get to know yourself and maybe even get to know other people on a whole other level other than just the superficial level. But really what makes them tick, what's at their core.
And you can use these tools to better understand your own feelings, emotions, and actions. And then you can actually improve your relationships with other people too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Different types of relationships. So personal relationships with the family or your significant other, also work relationships, or even with just strangers off the street.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Or that person that really annoys you.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get some insight into
Yeah. You'll be
you
less
two
annoyed, hopefully,
hopefully.
in learning some things.
So Golda will present one tool and I'll present another tool. And these are both very common tools you might see in popular culture or in psychology. And all of these tests are readily available online. But let me ask you, Golda.
Yes.
Why? I mean, some people might call BS on this.
Okay.
And say, oh, look at these psychopop sort of tests. Do you think there's value in this?
I think that, for example, like those BuzzFeed tests, things like that, right? Or those random ones
on
with
Facebook and things like that.
Yeah, those bait clicked ones, or like, I think that is the first step. It's a superficial step to give you a little bit of a clue, a little bit of an inkling. It's just an echo of what really is going on. And if you're genuinely interested in learning more, there's definitely resources available so that you can dive a little deeper.
Yeah. And there's a quote from Socrates, which I think perfectly sums up why we're doing this episode.
Okay.
It's called, no, it's not called. The quote is, "To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom." Ooh. You've always heard that to know thyself part, right?
Yes.
But I've never heard the follow-up ... which is to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom.
And I believe it was either Plato or Shakespeare. Completely different generations.
Right?
That said, to thine own self be true.
Ooh, girl.
And I believe someone else, old,
very
also
ancient,
said, know thyself. That is the goal of life, right?
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
Knowing yourself is the key to helping to know others and maybe being more compassionate.
Right.
And understanding of others as well.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to ask Golda to launch into the tool that she's studied a little bit.
Yes.
But I just want you to know, according to BuzzFeed, my spirit animal is a dolphin. And if I was a dog, I'd be a Labrador Retriever.
Interesting.
I learned something right there.
I don't think that test has gone the rounds yet and made it over to my Facebook page.
Okay, gotcha.
So when I see it, I will see.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's hear about your more legitimate form of psychological test.
Well, I was actually introduced to what I'm about to talk to all of you about by my significant other, who is an introvert. So there is a book out there for several years now called Quiet, written by Susan Cain, who talks about the power of introverts. I think the official title is Quiet, Learning to Live in a World Full of Noise or something like that. I am probably totally butchering it. But anyway, I looked more into what Susan Cain has to say about introverts and extroverts, or introversion versus extroversion. And basically, for those of you who aren't aware of, introversion or extroversion, introversion, extroversion is a play in terms of how you respond to stimulation, right? How you respond to a stimulating environment.
It's one of the aspects of extroversion, introversion, but it is one
Right.
of the main definitions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, for example, how do you respond to noise? Do you respond to people? How do you respond to lights?
Mhm.
Right? How do you respond to social stimulation? And Susan Cain is an introvert. Her career, up until the point that she wrote this book, was as an attorney. And she shares stories about how when she was in school, she was the quiet kid. She was the kid that liked to read. She was the kid that didn't necessarily volunteer and raise her hand every single time the teacher asked a question. But she was smart, obviously, brilliant mind. But our society puts so much currency on extroverts,
Yeah, I think
right?
she has a wonderful TED Talk if you guys want to watch it. But basically, our society is built to reward extroverts, people who are more outspoken, people who thrive in environments where it's very fast paced and there's a lot of people, a lot of stimuli. And introverts have a equally important set of skills, but they are not as recognizable in our current workplace.
Right.
Perhaps in Japan, it would be more acknowledged, right? And we
Maybe.
could talk a little bit about that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that they're equally important.
Yeah.
But
And they're a
Susan,
good balance too. I mean, I think the gist of it is, I mean, it's definitely, you can go on for days talking about this, but the gist of it is, where do introverts and extroverts get their
energy from. So
right?
can you run us through just a quick little checklist, a little questionnaire, so if people are listening and want to do a test in their brain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the very first thing that's actually the most telling is when you come home from being at a party with a lot of people, do you feel A, energized and excited, or B, exhausted and want to go to sleep? I mean, that's one of the most telling.
Okay.
Right. And or C, depends on the situation and who is there. And sometimes I feel energized, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to go to sleep. So I think the popular culture says that there are introverts and extroverts, but there's also a happy medium, which is right in the middle of being an introvert and an extrovert, which is called an ambivert, where you have components of each. Susan Cain specifically focused a lot of her book on introverts.
Correct, yes.
And she said an interesting statistic where she said that 1/3 to half of the population are introverts.
I could see that. I believe it.
So 1 in 3 people or 1 in 2 people are introverts.
Yeah.
And for a lot of extroverts out there, I'm an ambivert. I took the test. I took the test, and I'm an ambivert. And we'll provide the link to this test that's actually provided by Susan Cain, the author of Quiet, so that you can determine if you're an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert. And I ended up being an ambivert. Did you take the test?
I did.
Okay, what are you?
I'm also an ambivert. What? This is why we're friends.
Well, it's interesting because they did studies about people who are either friends or in romantic relationships. And there is a direct correlation between people who are sort of opposites getting together, like introvert, extrovert, because they balance each other out, right? And then there's also a correlation with people who are both introverts who do really well and both extroverts who do really well, or both ambiverts and do really well.
Wait,
so all combinations.
What?
Basically,
so there is no correlation. So you're saying any personality type can be with any
with anybody. No, actually, the opposites are actually the best.
Those are strong pairings, right?
Those are very strong pairings because they've got all bases covered, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was really
interesting. So let's
interesting.
go through the checklist again. So you said, number 1, do you get energized by a party or do you get drained by a party?
Right.
What's another question you can ask yourself?
Right. I think as it relates to noise.
Okay.
right? When you work, do you like to work with stuff going on behind you, like the TV on, or do you like the radio on, or
Like a cafe, or do you prefer a
yeah,
nice quiet spot?
yeah, yeah. Or I've also seen people at cafes with headphones on
Hmm.
where they're listening to who knows what. I'm only assuming they're listening to like classical music or something calming or like
Oh, you don't
waves
know.
crashing
I
or
think some
something.
people would listen to something very fast paced to kind of
Yeah,
energize
that's
themselves.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. So noise is a big thing.
Okay.
And then lighting
Mm.
also is a big thing. Do you prefer more subdued lighting, calmer lighting, or do you like nice, bright, being out in the sunshine? Something to kind of invigorate you,
Mhm.
right? So those are some of the basic things that they.
I would say, because I've also read a little bit about it, to get
Mhm,
more deeper into the thought process. Do
mhm,
you like to collect all the information, process it, and then make a decision? Or
mhm.
do you like to make a decision on the spot?
Right,
So
right.
that's the introverted side, would be collecting all the data, then acting.
Mhm,
Even that comes to speaking too. They usually think and think and think, and then
mhm.
later say, why didn't I speak up?
Right.
Whereas extroverts just like to act, and then later they go, oh, maybe I should have evaluated what I said or what I did. But
Yes.
they're more directly action
Yes,
oriented.
they were saying that extroverts actually have a higher tolerance for risk,
Oh, yes.
and
Yes.
introverts are a lot more risk averse.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, when you look at ideas that stick, it's usually the introverted ideas because
Over time, because they've been implemented.
they thought about it.
They thought it through.
They actually thought it through.
They thought it
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
So they also in this book, what was interesting is that she mentioned some famous people who fall on the
Oh.
spectrum,
Hmm.
and it is a spectrum. I don't think there's a black and white extrovert, introvert, ambivert. There is a very wide spectrum, and you can probably find components of all of them in different situations. But what is the strongest the strongest tendency that you have? So she mentioned in terms of introverts, Gandhi
Hmm.
was an introvert.
And here's a man who's really known for leading people
Mm-hmm.
and being in the public eye. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
common misconception about introverts, that they
Yeah.
can't lead or they can't be a public
Yeah.
speaker. Gandhi was an amazing leader,
Yeah.
introvert.
Jesus.
Jesus. Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. I think he
Yeah.
was an introvert.
Actually, she mentions that a lot of these spiritual leaders at some point in their life have gone into the wilderness by
Yeah.
themselves
Sure.
and then come back after some time and shared with everybody what they discovered
Hmm.
after being in the wilderness or in solitude for a period of time. So
True.
introverts tend to really think things through, really like, have you ever seen those, remember that magazine Highlights
At the
from when you were a
dentist.
kid? Yeah,
At the
when you're a
dentist
kid.
office. Yeah.
And then you have like two pictures that seemingly look exactly the
And you're
same.
supposed to spot the difference between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're supposed to spot like, oh, there's one more apple on that tree that it wasn't supposed to be in the original picture. You know those exercises?
Yes.
They say that the extroverted children finish those tests faster and get the most mistakes.
Those extroverted children are putting those magazines on their heads and jumping on the sofas and getting an ice cream cone stuck between the pages. The introvert has it laid out and is systematically going through the list.
Yes, yes, and gets less errors and will take the more time to figure it out properly.
Right.
Right. So I think that introverts also seemingly, like if you were to move that introvert into a workplace situation, the unfortunate part, and I think the reason why Susan Cain wanted to put some light on introverts is
Mhm.
in a workplace environment, usually the loudest talkers or the
Yes.
most, energetic person
Yes.
is the one that is looked at as the leader or the one that's doing the right work or great work because they're so loud and they're so optimistic and they have so much charisma versus the quieter ones don't get as much credit or might not get the opportunities to advance because they're not as loud and talkative and all of that. And she actually said that there is zero correlation of the biggest talker to having the best ideas. Let me say that again.
What?
There
What?
is zero correlation to the biggest, loudest talker to having the best ideas.
What? If you just shout louder, your idea doesn't get better?
I mean, you would think. But she actually said what's interesting when you look at introverts and extroverts is when you look at the topic of creativity.
Oh, interesting.
When you look at the topic of creativity and who's more creative,
Mhm.
in her study, she has found that introverts tend to be the most successful creative individuals in our history.
Interesting. Like, who?
Yeah.
Give me some examples.
Oh boy. I don't know. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci,
Nice.
right? These folks definitely are a lot more creative because she believes, apparently, that in order to be creative, you have to spend time alone.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, very, very interesting. The reason being that when you are in a social situation, social norms when in your interaction dictate that in order to be accepted in your social
You
circle,
have to conform.
you have to conform and you almost have to mimic
Yeah. What's
the
happening around you.
behaviors, the ideas of everybody around you. And specifically, oftentimes you mimic the behaviors of whoever the alpha
Yeah.
person
Makes sense.
is,
Makes sense.
right?
Yeah.
So someone might say, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio is the best looking guy out of everybody in Hollywood. And if that person saying that is the alpha in your group, you are more likely to agree than say, no, I actually like Brad Pitt. Right? Or whatever, or
Right.
whoever.
Or
right?
how about this? I like Adrian Brody. Like, that would be
Yeah,
an
oh,
unpopular.
really?
I think Adrian Brody. See, let her trying to bully me with her choice, Leonardo. What if I go? I like Adrian Brody. He's like a little different. That nose, that's sexy to me. But if the alpha Golda was pushing her point of view, you might feel uncomfortable. Like, oh, maybe my choice is weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what she was saying as far as why introverts tend to be more successful in creative endeavors and tend to be the most creative is because they already don't want to be around people.
Okay.
Right? So when they spend a lot of times by themselves, then they really can create something original because they're not influenced by other voices, other ideas, other opinions, right? Versus the extrovert who just wants to be liked. It just wants to go out there, and mingle and will probably maybe mimic what's already out there.
I see.
Right. So introverts tend to be a lot more creative and oftentimes have the best ideas. You look at the pairing of Steve Wozniak, right, from Apple,
and Steve Jobs.
Classic introvert, and Steve Jobs, classic extrovert, right? That combo worked. But between the two of them, I don't know. I think Wozniak was the brains, man. This would not have happened. Like Jobs had the vision.
Yes.
And he could talk a good talk. And he could make the big risks.
Yes.
Right? But Wozniak had the smarts and he had the creativity. And he also had the vision. True. But he wasn't very good socially. He's not a good talker. Right.
So that's something to emphasize, which is that one is not better than the other. They're different strengths. Yeah. But in our society, we don't let the introverts be themselves so that they can cultivate their strengths. A lot of people say that Albert Einstein, because of the long hours he spent in the patent office doing really just repetitive work, it allowed him the time to think. And introverts need time to regenerate their resources, their emotional and energy resources, and to think and really go dive deep. And if you were to ask an extrovert to do that, I think it'd be torture for them because they want to float on the surface. They want to gather a lot of information together and be excited by new things. So you have to let each type have a lifestyle that nurtures them. And just recognize in yourself, I have these tendencies that I need to nurture. And so it may be socializing. Maybe that's what nurtures you and being around stimulating things. Or it could be like, I need alone time to process and think. So do what nurtures you. And if you see someone who's different from you and who behaves in a way that's different from you, don't forget they need that.
Right.
So don't try to impose your will on them.
Right, exactly. And we live in an extrovert focused world,
We
and
sure
not
do.
everyone is. I mean, that statistic of half the population,
Mhm.
at least a third of the population being introverts, that really puts it into perspective, I
Unless
think.
you're an ambivert like us, and then you're perfectly balanced, and then you have the strengths of both introverts and
Yeah,
extroverts.
so she should strive to be an ambivert. No, actually, what Susan Cain has said in her book is that the trick to living well is to understand the key to your power.
Wow.
Understand the key to your power. And the key to your power is understanding what stimulates you in terms of the introvert or
What
extrovert.
nourishes you. And
Yeah.
also, I would just add a little thing, which is do not let your dominant thing veer into the negative side. So let me
Mm.
give you an example.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bad aspects, because there's pluses and minuses
Yeah.
both person. Bad aspects of extroverts is they don't follow through on what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
They flit and float all over the place. They're too scattered. So maybe a characteristic an extrovert would like to develop is I'm going to ground myself and be present when I'm with my friends. I'm going to listen rather than dominate. And for introverts, a negative characteristic is that they seclude themselves. They get too lost in their thoughts and they get closed off. So something that might be very positive for an introvert is to spend quality time with a person and do something new, push themselves out of their comfort zones a little bit so they don't get stuck in a rut. So I think it's important not to go too extreme on either one.
Yeah.
Just like us ambiverts.
Yeah, I think there's definitely opportunities for both introverts and extroverts to get irritated with each other.
Totally.
Like I've heard introverts say, "Oh my gosh, these extroverts are so loud. They think they're so smart, but they're so stupid. They just need to shut up."
Yeah.
Like that. And then I've heard extroverts say, "Oh my god, these introverts, they're so quiet. They're like bumps on logs."
Yes.
But I hope that by bringing this, a little bit of a light on this,
Yes.
that it's legitimate. It's not that people are trying to be difficult, right? But it's their way of being.
Relating to the world and being. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that was my bit on
Love it.
introversion, extroversion, specifically Susan Cain, her book Quiet. What about you, Wanru? What do you have to offer in terms of knowing yourself?
So I would like to offer the layman's interpretation of a very popular book in pop psychology and in psychology, The 5 Love Language. The 5 love languages. It would be bad if there was
5 love language. Which one yours? Who edited this book?
One of the languages is not grammar.
Yes.
Because
yes.
No, it's
a famous book.
It's a famous. Sorry, Gary Chapman. It's
Gary
by
Chapman.
Dr. Gary Chapman, and it's called The 5 Love Languages: The Secret to Love That Lasts. So Dr. Chapman comes from an anthropological background.
Ooh.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
He studied,
makes sense.
Yeah, sort of, right? He studied linguistics, and he realized just like you can't speak or understand someone who speaks in a different language, you can't relate in a relationship to somebody who speaks a different love language. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Because the way we express our love is not universal.
Yeah.
And he wanted to tackle head on the issue that people have, which is after that intense falling in love period with the chemicals are just going all over your body and the hormones are raging. After that love dies down, how can we continue to nurture love in a relationship?
Sure.
And so it could be the way you relate to your romantic partner. That's how he focuses on this book.
Okay.
But he also wrote a book for children and for family members specifically. So
that's good.
This applies universally.
Okay.
Okay,
so what are the 5 love languages?
All right, they're very simple and they're very self-explanatory. So I'm going to go through them and then I'm going to do a little finer point that I got from reading the book.
Great.
So the first one, in no particular order of importance, is words of affirmation.
Yeah.
So how would you? Wow, you're so angry.
No, yeah. yeah.
See, tone is important.
Yeah.
Tone is important. Tone is part of words of affirmation.
Okay.
So what do you think that means, Golda?
That means that you need to hear praise.
Yes.
Right? Something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So tone plays into that. Regularity of it Meaning you can't say one good thing every 6 months and you're like, well, let me just wipe my hands. I'm
good
done.
with that.
Good with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people need daily or hourly praise, perhaps even, right?
Okay.
So one of the love language is words of affirmation. And okay, so that I think we've covered that. Sorry, I think that's very self-explanatory. Please read the book if you want to go in deeper because we're just glossing over these.
So the words of affirmation is like, you look great today. Or I love you. You're the best thing ever. Or you knock 'em dead tonight in your presentation.
Absolutely.
Or something like that. Like kind of like being a cheerleader almost, right?
Totally. And this ties into another of the languages, but it's also acknowledging someone. Like, I know you were really busy and you took out the trash and you did that for me and I appreciate it so much. So one of the tips Gary Chapman has for women relating to men, but I think this is universal, is if you want someone to do something for you, praise them when they do it. Don't criticize or focus on what they're not doing because that's like a negative way to draw someone towards what you want them to do.
Right.
So every time someone takes out the garbage, say, thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for doing that. And it makes them want to do things for you more versus saying, why didn't you do X, Y, Z? Because all they hear is the negative.
Got it.
So words of affirmation is the first love language. The second one is quality time.
Quality time. What is that?
So that means not only doing activities together, but giving someone your attention. Listening to them when they speak. That's quality time. And I think it's more about attention and being together with and being present with the person.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, for some people, it's literally like, I would like to hike 4 hours with you. We don't have to talk, but that's quality time to that person.
I see.
So there's many different definitions.
Okay.
Quality time is a love language. The next one, receiving gifts.
Oh. Like physical gifts?
Yeah.
Oh.
Physical gifts. Yeah.
Okay.
So a little tip, this is very straightforward, but a little tip I picked up from the book is sometimes people like gifts not because of the monetary value, but because it shows that you're thinking about them. So,
oh my God.
why are you rolling?
Sorry.
Why are you rolling your eyes?
I'm like, wow. Could it perhaps be debated that the people who like this are superficial? And like only monetary things? And
well, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So
like the housewives of Atlanta or something?
Yeah. So if you grew up in a family where this is the main mode of expressing love, it's ingrained in you. So if you're in a relationship where the person absolutely refuses to give you any gift, it may be a problem. So you have to work with what you have. And by the way, just like the extroversion and introversion test, you can do this test yourself. You can do the quiz online and figure out what your primary mode of love language is. It may surprise you.
Yeah.
Okay. And Golda and I will reveal ours.
Okay.
So if you don't want to buy a Louis Vuitton or Gucci purse every time you want to show your person that you love them, try things like little notes or cards, or if you go someplace and you see a small thing, it could be even a flower or like a little leaf or something that reminds you of that person.
That's the poet.
Exactly. You got to get creative. You come back and just say, I pressed this wildflower into a notebook for you.
Sorry.
Because the wildflower, I'm trying, Golda.
Obviously, you know which one is not mine.
Sorry. Golda, why have you never pressed a wildflower into a book for me?
Oh my gosh. Yikes.
She's getting uncomfortable. I've been thinking, what if that's what I need to feel loved in our friendship?
I'll give you a gift certificate to Michael's
okay,
Arts and Crafts so you can bind your own stuff.
Okay, that's fine with me too. If this was my love language. Okay. But yeah, like a little gift card to Michael's or something.
Okay.
Oh, you ran out of hot glue gun sticks. Honey, I noticed you could use some more hot glue gun sticks. That's sweet. That's nice.
Because it shows the thoughtfulness.
It's the thoughtfulness, right?
It's the thoughtfulness.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so that's our third one. Our fourth one is acts of service.
Oh, acts of service? Like massaging your face?
Absolutely. With your whole elbow.
My face with your elbow.
Oh God, I love that. It could be. It could be rubbing your wife's or husband's feet after they've stood up all day at their job.
Okay.
It could be, I don't know, for guys, this is the big one. It's like, I changed your car oil. That's a nuisance.
That's a good one.
Right? I changed your oil, and the woman's like, "Why don't you buy me flowers anymore?" And
Interesting.
he's like, "I put synthetic oil in there. That's like 20 extra bucks, and it'll make
Oh,
your car last longer."
that's interesting because that's what my stepdad does with my mom.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so he does stuff for her all the time, but it's very service oriented. Like, I changed your oil. I noticed that your front tire was low, so I put air in it.
Yep.
I trimmed the hedges. Hey, I trimmed the hedges. Without being asked. Stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And that's the way he knows how to express his love and caring. And if you just dismiss that, like, oh, how unromantic it is, I can change my own oil, you're actually taking away something that they can do that makes them feel good. So
very interesting.
the key is to affirm and also to reciprocate if that's how they feel loved.
Got it.
So maybe let's use your stepfather and your mother's example. So he changes the oil and he does all these practical things with the car because that's his area of expertise. If she says, "I noticed your polo shirts where all the buttons were missing and I sewed them back on," maybe that would make him feel loved.
Oh,
right? And we can get into that because most people love and give love in the same way, but it may not match their partner. So you can say, "I like an act of service, but you like words of affirmation.
Yeah.
So you do something for me, but I'm going to say something to you to make you feel good because that's what you like."
Got it.
Everybody's different.
Because everyone always thinks that their partner is the same as them.
Right. That's a big mistake.
Or not even their partner, but anybody.
Like the extroversion, introversion thing.
Yeah.
But once you understand what makes them tick, you know how to make it easier to communicate with them.
That's a great point.
All right. So we've got so far words of affirmation, quality time, giving and receiving gifts. Golda's poo-pooing that one. Acts of service. And lastly, physical touch.
Oh, that's pretty self-explanatory right there.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean sexual touch. It doesn't always. It could be that. But it could just be physical closeness or intimacy. Actually, I think women love affection without having to lead to sex. Because for some women, they're not mentally like in an amorous mood, but they still need that physical touch from their husband, and they don't want to feel
wife.
Yeah, absolutely. Or for any two partners, they don't want to feel like every time I get a touch, it's going to lead to sex. It doesn't have to. It can. But what is an important aspect of physical touch? So, and the hardest part about this is asking for physical touch.
How do you do that?
Just say, "It feels good to me when you..."
What if
See, it's hard, right? It's hard when when I come home, I just need a hug.
Oh.
I need a hug for 5 minutes and I can de-stress. It makes me feel so good. So if you can give me that, it would make me feel so good. And especially for men or certain types, it's hard for them to ask for physical touch. It seems weird, seems weak to ask for that.
Does
right?
it? I think that shows strength.
Oh, good. See, because you're open-minded. But yeah.
I guess. Just don't massage my face.
Physical touch, unless you're treating your face like a ciabatta bread dough. Right?
Or are you saying like tamales?
Tamales, yeah. Like flatten the masa and put it on the corn.
Yeah.
For tortilla press. Exactly. And actually, there's another author who I like. He wrote "Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus," but I think it expands all sorts of gender orientations and things like that. But he discovered that one of the things that his wife needs every day is when he comes home to hug and to gain that connection. So they play a little game. He comes in, he says, "Honey, I'm home." And she'll like shout out where she is in the house. And wherever she is, he seeks her out and they hug and they kiss for like, just a few minutes.
Aww.
And it puts her in a really good mood.
Aww,
and over time, he realized that, I just have to do that and she won't be grumpy the whole night. But when he didn't do that, she would be grumpy. But she didn't even know to ask that. She didn't even know she needed that.
Oh, wow.
But when he sought her out, like this little game where he goes and looks for her and then hugs and kisses her, she's in a good mood the rest of the night.
Oh, interesting.
But sometimes you can't even ask for the things that you want.
Hmm.
So that's it. So take the test, have your partner or friend or your family members take this test, and then you can.
Even coworker.
I'm not going to give my coworker physical test.
I know, but I feel like it would be. I think it would be very telling.
It would be informative
and really telling of a good way to communicate with them.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
yeah, that would be very. Again, these examples are going back to our topic of getting to know yourself. Tools to help to get to know yourself and others.
Mhm.
So, what is your love language?
Okay, so I'm gonna reveal my top 5
Oh,
because
shoot.
what happens is they rank them in terms of importance and least importance. So I have my top 5, which I'm gonna get
Okay.
ready right now.
Okay.
And do you have yours?
I do. You first.
Okay, so
Can I guess?
oh yeah. Go ahead.
Your love language. Again, the languages are affirmation, service,
Yeah.
things, buying
Receiving gifts.
things,
Yeah,
receiving gifts, touch,
Mhm.
and what was the other one?
Did we say words of affirmation?
Yeah.
Acts of service.
Oh, so can you say them again?
Okay,
I think I missed one.
So the top 5. The 5 love languages in no particular order are number 1, words of affirmation.
Mhm.
Number 2, quality time. Number
Mhm.
3, gifts. Number
Mhm.
4, acts of service. And 5,
Quality.
physical touch.
Got it.
So what's my number 1 love language?
I think yours is quality time.
It is.
Yoo-hoo!
It is. And
Do I not know, Wanru?
What's your first one?
You have to guess mine.
Oh.
You guess mine.
I'm gonna say words of affirmation.
You are absolutely right.
God, do we know each other?
We know each other. We know each other.
Oh, okay. I would like to say, Golda, that is very insightful of you.
I would like to say, Wanru, stay here as long as you would like.
Thank you. It's so considerate. You're a considerate and thoughtful person.
Very, very. What grade did you get?
I got a 9 for quality time. What did you get for words of affirmation?
A 10.
Ooh.
Man, I'm so needy with the words of affirmation.
Oh,
apparently.
wow. Okay. So now, you know what? Even
How does my hair look?
Fabulous. Perfect.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I needed. And recharge.
See, I didn't know this. Actually, to be honest, that was a guess, but I didn't know that. And I didn't know it was at a level of 10. But now I know how to relate to Golda more.
Yeah.
Just flatter her and butter her up. Okay. What's your second most important love language?
Acts of service.
Oh, dang. I would never have guessed that. Oh, dang.
What's yours?
Okay, want to make a guess?
Yes.
Good.
You need affirmation.
Yes. Words of affirmation.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know.
What number are you though? Like, what was your score?
8 for words of affirmation.
Oh, interesting. You need some. You. It's so great that you know that you need words of affirmation.
It's so great that I took this quiz.
Yes, so great that you took this quiz. I love plaid. She's wearing plaid right now. Mine is 7. That was my score for acts of service.
Oh my gosh. Interesting.
Interesting.
Okay,
But it was a tie. The tie to acts
Between
of
the
service
second and-
was quality time.
Oh,
Yeah. What about you? What was your next one?
physical touch.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, shoot, girl.
Girl. I'm rubbing your shoulder.
It feels good. It feels good. I needed that. Thank you. That's a little lower. That's 7 for me. And then acts of service and then receiving gifts. So I'm going to guess
Interesting.
yours was words of affirmation, quality time, tied with acts of service,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Physical touch.
and then
Yeah.
receiving
Receiving gifts is
Ours-
dead last.
Ours is dead last. What was your score for receiving gifts?
1.
Mine was a 2.
Yeah, we're not superficial. Man, is that really shallow and not very understanding of me to say that? I think that's probably the one when I looked at the list that I have the most challenge in understanding. Like if I had people in my life, and I can't think of anybody actually in my circle of friends and family that have that communication style.
I mean, I know.
I don't know. I don't know how. I think that would be the most challenging for me. What about for you?
I knew a family, a set of sisters, and the mom trained them from a young age that buying gifts, especially luxury gifts, was a way of expressing love and appreciation. Because I think the father wasn't that way. The father was definitely acts of service, but the mother, all her extra money, she just spent on her daughters. That was the only way she could express herself. So she's not buying stuff for herself. She's definitely spending it on her daughters. So I remember one Christmas, they all gave each other diamond earrings of nearly the same value.
Oh boy.
It was like, I know you like diamond earrings. Here they are. And then they would give them to each other and then give them to them. So they were just swapping diamond earrings of exactly the same monetary value. They may have even bought it at the same place, but it was just a grand gesture that they could do instead of verbalizing their love. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but if you need to acknowledge that within yourself and then express that to your partner. It doesn't have to be diamond earrings, but it could be a pressed wildflower.
That's true. I mean, it's like you were mentioning, it's the thoughtfulness of the gift,
Yeah,
right?
and actually my friend travels all the time and she always buys me just a little thing, like a little trinket. And I think it's her way of telling me, I thought about you on my trip. You know, she got me this awesome rice scooper, like from Japan.
An awesome rice scooper?
Yeah, it's a rice scooper.
Okay.
It's like a little, it's shaped like a spatula.
Okay.
And then you use it to scoop rice. It had a little stand. You put it in the stand so it doesn't get all mucky. Get rice stuck on it.
Yeah.
Amazing. So functional. But she thought it was cute and she thought I might like it. She always gets me something really cute like that.
You're still friends with this person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then you must have loved it.
I
must have loved it.
Rice scoopers. I use that thing almost every day.
Oh, that's very nice.
And the rice doesn't stick to it. You know how sticky rice is.
Yes. That's very sweet.
Golda.
I'm always amazed. I will say that when like Wanru came from her trip and she got us very lovely souvenirs.
Which she's going to chuck out the window.
No, not at all. Actually, receiving it is great. I think it's the giving that.
It's the
I'm like, what a drag. When I have to give it. But yeah, I mean.
You like receiving of the gifts,
it's fine.
not giving.
It's fine. I won't say no. I won't say no to the gifts. But I think that, there was a lady at work who gave me a gift in one of her travels. And I don't really know her that well. And she was compelled to give me a gift, which I thought was so sweet. So I can see how that's very, very lovely and nice and thoughtful and next level type stuff. Yeah.
I have a coworker, no matter where he goes, he buys enough little tchotchkes so that the whole department can get one.
Wow.
That's like
nice.
50 people.
Wow.
And it's just like a little magnet or something, But everyone gets a little magnet or shot glass. And I was like, that's so sweet.
That's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
That's very thoughtful.
From Lisbon. I look at that Lisbon magnet.
Yeah, and you think of him.
I think of him.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Take the quiz.
Yeah.
Learn more about yourself and others and try to stretch yourself and express love for the people around you. And maybe you'll find a benefit in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here is a segment of products we love. Someday this will come true. Dream sponsors.
Golda and I currently don't have any sponsors.
No, we sure don't.
We love sponsors.
We sure do.
We love many, many products.
Yes.
And so for this segment, we're going to talk about dream sponsors, companies that we would love to sponsor us and we would love to work with. So get in contact with us, people.
Yeah, and these are actually products we use and we love and we just can't wait to share.
Yeah, Ganru endorsed. So, Golda.
Yes.
Who is your dream sponsor this week?
Well, my dream sponsor is fresh on the heels of this topic in terms of extroversion and introversion, or the topic I brought up, and about how there is value in solitude.
In silence, in quiet.
Yes, silence and quiet, and the less disturbances, sometimes the better, especially if you want to be more creative or more productive. That's possibly a tool or something you should look at. Mm-hmm. So my dream sponsor is Bose noise canceling headphones.
And how is Bose spelled? For those few people who are not familiar with this brand.
Bose is spelled B as in Bose. O-S-E.
Bose.
Bose. It's not Bose, as I had been calling it for years. I thought I was being sophisticated. I was just
Wrong.
ignorant.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Wrong.
So, what makes these Bose noise canceling
Yes.
earphones so cool?
Well, the great thing about it is I use it when I'm on a plane. And when you're on a plane, this, you just came from a trip.
Mhm.
You hear all of that excess noise, the sound of the airplane, the air pressure, people around you, the cart going up and down the aisle,
Yes.
and any number of different things, people talking. Noise canceling headphones basically will eradicate or minimize all of that extra noise so that you can focus on, if you choose to, the movie that you're watching on the plane or music that you're listening to. You can also use these headphones if you are taking public transportation. If you're on a train, a bus, if you're sitting at a bus stop, you can also use it. And I've seen Bose headphones, noise canceling headphones, being used at my place of employment for people who are out in the open, sort of that open concept type of workspace that we were talking about earlier.
A nightmare for some introverts, by the way.
Yes, or if your desk or your cubicle is located near a conference room or near the bathroom or near the lunchroom where there's a lot of noise and a lot of interactions going on, noise canceling headphones help to cut out all of that
And
noise.
how much noise reduction would you say?
Oh boy. Oh gosh. Pretty significant. I remember I had my Bose noise canceling headphones on the plane with me in my most recent trip, and the battery ran out, and I was so miserable. I'm like, I can hear everything.
So that is something to keep in mind because they're
yeah, it was
active
significant.
headphones. They need their own power supply.
Yes,
right?
they definitely need batteries, and these particular ones are excellent. They're the Bose. I think it's called Quiet. That's the line.
Okay.
It's called Quiet. Isn't it interesting? Because that's the name of the book.
Ooh.
I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just informing myself based on this book. But
Bose
I
needs
believe
to get a line of headphones called
Quiet for introverts.
for introverts. And
Trademark.
Ganru.
You need to license it from us, Bose. Don't get smart.
And they could do a whole line called noisy for extroverts.
Noisy.
Adds background noise. Okay, but pro tip.
Yep.
And this is actually something I would do if I owned them. I'm
Yeah.
going to get myself a pair, which is if you just don't want to deal with people,
Mm-hmm.
just put them on
Mm-hmm.
and don't play music. So it cancels
Yeah.
the noise and it prevents people from talking to you
Yeah.
because you're like, got my headphones on. Don't even bother me right now.
Yeah.
You can work in
It
silence.
signals people to leave you alone.
Yeah, that's the best part about wearing these headphones.
It's actually the Bose headphones is called Quiet Comfort.
Oh,
Yes, our producer just signaled me. It's Quiet Comfort.
Perfect for introverts. Well,
yes.
thank you for
so
sharing.
that's mine. What about yours? Who's your dream sponsor?
Okay, so this is related to my travels. So I took a lot of photos when I was traveling in Japan,
Yes.
and when I took them home and uploaded them to my computer, I realized every single one was askew. Like every single one was off by like 5 degrees. And I don't know what's going on in my mind or with my hand or my neck strap of my camera. Because my camera, when you look through the viewfinder, there's actually a grid line in there.
So it shows you if it's even.
It
straight.
shows you how to line it up against this viewfinder line.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Maybe you had an ear infection? Messing up your balance?
Do I have myopia? What is going on? I would meticulously line it up in my viewfinder and I would like, okay, temple looks straight, looks good. All right, this building's lined up. I take it home. Everything 5 degrees to the left. 5 degrees, 5 degrees. Oh gosh, it was infuriating.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's very obvious. And I recommend a free software called Fast Stone Image Viewer.
Fast Stone Image Viewer.
Don't ask me why.
Wow, they should really
knocked it
revisit that app title. That's not necessarily the most memorable.
Like quiet comfort.
I already forgot what it was. I mean, I had to look at your notebook to read it because it wasn't sticking to my brain platelets.
Like quiet comfort. There,
It rolls. It rolls off the tongue.
Fast stone. Fast. It's even hard to.
Fast stone? Aren't stones heavy? So why would it be fast?
I don't know, Golda.
Fast stone image viewer. Okay, so what does it do?
So it's basically a very primitive Adobe Photoshop or Lightroom. So
Okay.
if you're like me and you're cheap and you don't want to spend a couple $100 on Lightroom, which is I've used it before, it is really the
gold
ultimate,
standard.
the gold standard
Yes.
for image viewing and editing.
Okay.
And maybe that's why they have a better name, because
Lightroom?
Lightroom, does that?
It's like I get it right away.
What does that do?
Yeah, it's a Lightroom.
Light up the room.
Yeah.
Fast stone.
Stone
Wah, wah.
mango viewer. I forgot already.
Fast stone facial massage and back alignment is what I'm getting with that name. Okay.
Fast stone.
With that horrible name
Fast
aside.
stone colonic. The stones will pass.
Yeah,
It's fast.
fast
It's a fast stone.
stone kidney stone removal system. That
Got it. Yeah.
I don't know why the
Okay.
name it is the way it is. And Fast Stone people, if you want to reach out to us, we can brainstorm on a better name
Yeah,
for
we're
you.
really good at logos and stuff.
Right. But the software itself is excellent.
Okay, well, good.
It allows you to, of course, align your photos. You can batch process them. And if you shoot in RAW, in a file called RAW, it
Mhm.
allows you to view it, which very few free softwares allow you to do.
Hmm.
So highly recommend 2 thumbs up for Fast Stone Image Viewer.
Boy. I no offense to introverts, but that sounds like an introvert
Introverted.
logo idea. Because it's not snappy.
This, again, Power of Introverts and Power of Extroverts.
They
is
need to
good.
hire more extroverts at Fast Stone Image. Ah! I don't know what it is.
She can't even get through the name of this company.
I refuse.
All right, I challenge you, Miss Ambivert.
Yes. Yeah.
I want you to make a jingle for Fast Stone right now and make it catchy.
What is Fast Stone
Image
Image
Viewer.
Viewer?
I'll put it right here.
Fast Stone Image Viewer. Yeah. Yeah. Some pictures look good. Some pictures look so good. Yeah. Fast Stone Image Viewer.
Wow, that was actually pretty catchy.
Oh, I'm not convinced. Even singing it, I was already regretting it.
Okay, all right,
But anyway, I'm saying
Okay.
all of this without even looking at the app. I'm sure the app is great.
yeah, it's a software for your
Yeah.
PC. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, how about Quiet Comfort? Is it easier to make an ad for Quiet Comfort?
Quiet comfort, yeah.
Quiet Comfort. Yeah, there, we've done it.
There it is.
There it is. It just flows off.
Copyright, Library of Congress.
Bose.
We're gonna
even think about
file it like tomorrow.
All right, so both
right.
really good products.
Yeah.
If you travel and if you take photos.
And that concludes this episode of the Ganru Show. Tools to help to get to know yourself and others. And as we always do, we ask each other what our takeaway is. So I'm going to ask you, Wanru, what is your takeaway from today's episode?
Well, my takeaway is when you have a friend like Golda, who's beautiful, vivacious, intelligent, generous, color coordinated, has an amazing skin type with literally no pores. I'm like a foot away from her. She's got no pores. Don't forget, she still needs words of affirmation. Regularly. Like a lot. So,
Yeah, there's more coming after this, right? This is just for show, right?
No, my takeaway is, no, honestly, is especially if there's someone you really love and care about, to work on a way to communicate how much you care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Even working on trying to show that you love them, I think it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And it's about communication ultimately.
Absolutely. Well, what I learned about Wanru, it was interesting to put it within the framework of the 5 love languages, but something that I think that many of us probably on some level, on some organic level, understand how our loved ones communicate or like to be communicated with. I think that the 5 love languages was really interesting in framing that a little bit more succinctly, and then adding to it the introversion, extroversion, and how you find your stimulation. I think that all of those things are towards a common goal and a common end, which is an openness and acceptance of others and also of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you know this about yourself, man, can you imagine what you can do?
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
I'm just thinking right now of that Colors of the Rainbow song. The
Is-
Pocahontas. What was it? Colors of the Seasons? Colors
That's
of
Rent,
the
isn't it?
Sky?
Seasons of... No. That's
the Vanessa Williams song.
Oh, and a little bit of rainbows.
Yeah, basically she talked about how they're all beautiful, the different colors.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Yeah, is that what you're saying? This
I'm
is your
trying to say
takeaway?
this in a very roundabout, weird way, but that song,
Okay.
that song, right?
That is an underrated song that has not been used as a reference for maybe 20 years. But now that you're bringing it back to light,
right. We're all colors of the
We
rainbow,
are.
and you can't have a rainbow without all the colors and the shades and the gradients in between.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Skittles. You know, I was gonna say another thing that I was gonna say that I really appreciate is your takeaway from your trip to Japan and how everybody in Japan is very community oriented.
Yes, they are.
And I really, oh man, I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And I'm a little envious. I'm a little jealous that we don't necessarily have that right now in our current climate. But I feel like we're gonna get there. We're
Yeah,
gonna
I
get
think there's
there.
always something to be learned from someone else and another
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
And there's pluses and minuses of both, right? And you
Absolutely.
can't get too stuck in a rut. So just try to balance those elements of yourself. And I would say, if you enjoyed this episode of the Ganru Show,
Yes.
share with a person who has the opposite personality type as you.
Ooh.
So if you're an extrovert, I challenge you to share this with an introvert. And if you're an introvert, it's going to be a real challenge to
Mhm.
approach someone, but I would challenge you even more.
Just write them a note.
Yeah,
You don't have to meet
slide
them.
it under their door.
Just put it on a Post-it. You know, just
Paper
put it-
airplane. Just throw it into their
Yeah.
cubicle.
Or you know what? Just dial into their voicemail. You don't gotta live talk to them.
Dial into their voicemail.
Yeah, you can
Call-
dial into voicemail, right? Sure.
Call them when you don't expect them to pick up and leave a nice voicemail.
Write them a letter.
Yes,
Go to the post office.
exactly.
Send it to them. It's fine. It's good. Good stuff. So that concludes this episode of the Ganru Show. If you do like what you hear, please go ahead, as Wanru said, share our show with your friends, your loved ones, your coworkers, with the person sitting next to you on the train or on the bus. We'd love that. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. We have a video version of our podcast production where you can see what we look like. You can see what we're dressing. You can
Yeah.
see our facial expressions.
You
and-
can see what 20% glycolic acid does for our face.
Yes. And also the YouTube channel is an unedited version. It's full on everything that we talk about. The podcast version is a trimmed down version of what we talk about when we produce an episode. So please subscribe to our YouTube as well as every podcast provider out there, iTunes, Spotify, where else? are
Google
we?
Podcast.
Stitcher,
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
Overcast. Yeah. We're everywhere. So thank you so much for those of you who have already subscribed to us. We really appreciate that. If you have any thoughts or feelings or emotions or feedback, we are open to receiving emails. And thank you to those who have emailed us and said some nice things. We also have a Facebook page. Feel free to follow us there as well. Until next time, I'm Golda,
And I'm Wanru.
and this has been the Ganru Show. We'll see you soon. Bye.